KMOX.
It's sun and clouds, 75 degrees in downtown St. Louis. I'm Debbie Monterey, KMOX News.
This is the Gashouse Gang on 104.1 FM KMOX. Sponsored by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin comfort dealer.
And by Overhead Door Company of St. Louis and Chesterfield Fence and Deck.
Now, the Gashouse Gang on KMOX.
It's a nice day in St. Louis. I'm assuming it's even nicer down in Jupiter, Florida. That's where Matt Pauley and Mike Claiborne are. I'm Chris Ranji. Gashouse Gang until 1 o'clock today. Plenty of baseball to talk about. Also, trade deadline in the NHL is today. It is less than 2 hours away. The Blues have yet to make a move. They attempted to do so, but Colton Parayko exercised his no-trade clause, and so he rejected a deal to Buffalo. Will something happen between now and then, or will we get to that deadline and the Blues remain inactive? We will talk to Bill Lindsay from NHL Network. That's coming up at 12:30. We'll get his thoughts on the deadline and more. But right now, let's go to Jupiter.
Now, a St. Louis Cardinals spring training report. Sponsored by St. Louis Composting. Composting, growing gardens, and making memories. And by Happy Roof. We always create happy endings on the voice of the Cardinals. KMOX.
All right, Matt Pauley, Mike Claiborne, as I mentioned, are there in Florida where the Cardinals have Grapefruit League play going on. And then the World Baseball Classic is also underway. Japan got a win this morning. Big win, actually. And let's talk, fellas, about yesterday. And Dustin May, I want to start there because he's a new member of this rotation and by all accounts looked pretty good.
Yeah, he looked great. He was touching 99 miles per hour. It was just a really good first step for him. I think the velocity is what we all noticed. He hasn't thrown with that velocity consistently since 2023. So the big storyline, the big narrative on him all offseason is that this is his first opportunity to be truly healthy. And he's walked in here and just based off velocity alone, he looked healthy. That was a really good first spring training appearance for him.
Claibs, it is one start. What's it mean?
Not that much to me, because I think when you think about the adrenaline that was flowing for him, that was the first time he'd been in a big league stadium or spring training stadium on the mound. I want to know what his stuff looks like beyond the velocity. You know, does he have other pitches that he can use as an out pitch? Because we all know that throwing 99 miles an hour on a regular basis is not going to be the way he's going to make a living. So I want to wait and see another start. And let's see what he looks like after 4 innings or 5 innings where he's able to mix up his stuff. And then we'll have a better idea of what we can hope to have in 2026.
Yeah, Matt, that's really the thing is what do they expect from him in terms of innings and just how much he can give them with those innings that he pitches?
Yeah, and look, I understand what Claves is saying. I think he's right about the part about that being his first time out on the mound. I mean, it's been a really long time coming, but you also look at what he was able to do with a bunch of his other fastballs, a bunch of his other pitches. He threw the cutter, he threw the curveball, he threw the sinker. Now, he didn't get a lot of swing and miss on those pitches. In fact, he only got one swing and a miss. That was on his cutter. Actually, he got one on a sweeper as well. I beg your pardon. But the point being is he threw all of his stuff. It was mostly effective. The Cardinals would be able to tell you, the information that the data that we don't have access to is, pitch shape and things like that. So the Cardinals have a much better idea of how they feel about what May did in his first outing than we do. But I do think it is notable that in addition to the velocity, he was working all his other pitches as well.
Claves, let me ask you this about the rotation, because we've talked a lot about this with Bernie. And I mean, this week we talked about it a couple of times. And I know Matt has said similar that there's a belief this rotation might actually be decent. Not that it's going to be world beating. We're not talking about the Dodgers or anything like that, but this could be this rotation could be better than people think it's going to be.
Yeah, I think it could be. You have some guys in some different roles now. McGreevy's going to start. He knows he's going to be a starter for every outing. Liberatore moves up in the rotation after starting last year. And then the X factors are Dustin May, who's on a 1-year deal, so he has something to prove. Richard Fitz is a guy that I think we're all enamored by when you look at him size-wise and you see what he's been able to throw. And then you have Kyle Leahy, who was a guy who we loved coming out of the bullpen, he's now going to be a starter, or at least he's projected to be one. And then there's Andre Palante, who was not very good last year, and the record and the numbers would indicate that. You have to think he's got to be better than what he was last year. Now, does that mean we have 3 Cy Young nominees in the rotation? I don't think so. But you know what? I'm of the belief that at this point, if they can get through the order at least twice, perhaps 3 times, turn it over to a really good bullpen that we saw last year. And by the way, there's competition now for a closer. I think you need at least 2. I really think they can surprise some people. Now, the question is, will they have to win every game 2-1 or 1-0? Because the offense still has some catching up to do. Now, if they get a lead or pitch, with a lead, I think we could really see some real progress. Now, if they have to keep it close every night, it's not going to work.
Yeah, that's going to be difficult for them because when there's a lack of offense and you've got a relatively young pitching staff, you'd like to get them some help. And if they're constantly pitching stressful innings, it takes a toll as the season goes on. And maybe part of that is an additional starter, at least at parts of the season. They toyed with that before, and it looks like they might go with 6, at least for, if it works out. Maybe they have that additional starter. Claves, do you like the idea of them using that for now?
I do. And Matt and I have talked about this at length. This pitching staff will be more than what you'll see on opening day. It's going to include guys that are going to go to Memphis. It's going to include guys who have the ability to start on occasion. And in that situation, you got to spread the wealth. And I think the Dodgers showed everybody when you have that sort of pitching depth that you can win a World Series. Now, for the Cardinals, you just want to make sure, A, you're over 500. B, you want to be able to compete every night and eventually contend. But on that smaller scale, you have to be able to find enough pitchers who can give you quality innings beyond the 6th inning. And that's the key for me. I think you have to get to at least the 6th inning in order to be successful this year.
I also really like the idea of there just being this perpetual competition as the year goes along. So you go through the first month or so with 6, and then you get to the point where you want to go back down to 5. Well, who is the guy who pitched, who needs to walk out of the rotation? I think right now we would say that would probably be either Andre Palante or Richard Fitz, but let that first month play out and see what it looks like. And then, oh yeah, by the way, you got Hunter Dobbins, who is not likely to start the season on the opening day roster, but he's going to likely begin the year at Memphis. If he would have been 100% healthy coming into spring, he'd be right there in the mix. He'd be competing for an opening day roster spot. So he's going to be in there, and then that's going to kind of be that first wave, and you see what's going on. And then at some point, there's going to be Quinn. Quinn Matthews was really good yesterday. He got 12 swings and misses yesterday. Matthews did in 2 2/3 innings, which is a ridiculous number. Of the 8 outs that he records, 7 of them are via strikeouts. So at what point is he pushing? So just the fact that there's always going to be this perpetual competition in the starting rotation, something that bluntly, Claves, when was the last time that was true? Wasn't it 21, 20? Like, when was the last time the Cardinals actually, you felt like there were going to be guys pushing for a starting job as the season went along?
Yeah, I think it was probably 22. It may have been 21. After COVID passed us, we did have competition. And if there's one area you have to have competition, it has to be pitching. Now, I think that there's some other concerns on this ball club as we speak. But I think the pitching situation is being addressed as we see it. And I think the pitching staff, and granted, they haven't pitched one game in the big leagues this year yet. They're better from what I've seen now than what they were the last game of the season of last year.
I'm always taken back when I hear, people say, hey, well, if this team has 6 guys who could start, maybe 7, 8, or 9. They're flush with starters right now, because it always feels like if you have 6 or 7, you don't have enough because they may not be quality. And I think that's true a lot of times. If it's supposed to be a division winning season or a wild card season, this is a growth season. So I love hearing that they might have 7 or 8 who could actually end up starting games this year. That's good in 2026.
You have to have it. You
Yeah.
have to have it, Chris. And the other thing I would say to that, and we've all been at this a long time, and we always are excited about what our pitching looks like. And when July rolls around, we always end up saying, man, we got to get some more pitching.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because somebody's going to play themselves out of this role. Matt kind of touched on the competition.
Or somebody going to get hurt.
Exactly. And we were so lucky last year. We didn't get anyone
That's right.
seriously hurt, and we lost a lot of time. But my feeling is this. There's not a pitcher on this staff that won't be able to say, I didn't get enough of an opportunity. You're going to either play yourself into the rotation or pitch yourself out of the rotation. And the same thing's going to work for the bullpen. If you find yourself in Memphis more than you think you should be in St. Louis, maybe that tour of duty you had in St. Louis wasn't as good as you thought it was.
And when it comes to injuries, we also have to remember what's going to be different this year. Last year was a combination of the Cardinals planned really well. I don't want to dismiss that part of it, and they're doing that again this year. So part of it was the Cardinals planning. Part of it was just sheer luck. But then part of it was the profile of the starting pitchers last year. You didn't have hard throwers. Hard throwers get injured more often than soft throwers. So now you got a couple dudes who can go 98, 99, and you got some other guys coming up. Just the likelihood of injuries because you have guys throwing harder is certainly something. And the luck. I mean, look, you can't have what happened last year. At some point, everything comes back around. It's always even Steven. So yeah, there's going to be some pitching injuries this year.
Yeah, and the added velocity, which can lead to the pitching injuries, that's just something you got to live with, because that's how you get guys out. It's just, it sucks it's just simple biology. The harder you throw, the more likely it is you're going to get hurt. The flip side of that is you still need hard throwers, because that's how you get outs. That's how the best teams with the best rotations, best pitching staffs, and bullpens, that's how they win. And yeah, they're going to suffer some injuries here and there, but it's just a thing, Mike, that you got to live with.
Yeah, you do. And you know what you do if you're in the front office? You go get more guys who can throw hard
That's
and
right.
tell them to stand by, because you're going to have a chance to pitch. But you're spot on with regard to the process. And, hey, listen, I love guys who can pitch. And there's a difference between pitching and throwing. And I love guys who can pitch where they don't have to show me 99, every at bat. Where they have some other pitches they can throw. And we talked about May earlier. He might be that guy. And when you look back in the history of the game, there were always guys who could throw hard, but they always had something else in their back pocket that made them even more effective. And I think we're at a point now, and I think Liberatore is a really good example of that, where he can touch 96 if he needs to. But he has 6 other pitches that he can use to throw for strikes that don't have the velocity. But as long as he can throw them for strikes and make those guys still swing and miss, then, mission accomplished.
Mike Claiborne, Matt Pauley are live in Jupiter, Florida. I'm Chris Ranji. It is the Gashouse Gang. Bill Lindsay will join us at 12:30. He is an analyst on NHL Network, and we are waiting to see if the Blues do anything leading up to the deadline. Yeah,
I have a question when we come back about this Blues thing. This is going to be an epic few hours, trust me.
All right, let's do it. Well, when we come back, trade deadline at 2:00. It is the Gashouse Gang on KMOX.
For us.
I saw. Honestly, I'm not worried.
Not worried. Your roof is older than mine.
I called Happy Roof. They did a pre-storm inspection, caught a loose flashing that would have caused a major leak.
Wow, I really need that peace of mind.
Protect your happy place before the rain starts.
Booking my free inspection at thehappyroof.com or call 314-897-2310. It's all about the happy ending.
Hey, it's Debbie Monterey. I'm joined by my friend and St. Louis real estate expert, Gloria Liu, your home sold guaranteed realty. Gloria, everyone knows you for your guaranteed sold program, but you also help your sellers get multiple cash offers, right?
That's right. Some sellers are looking for speed, certainty, and to avoid repairs and open houses. I just helped a family in December to sell their parents' estate. They chose me because I offered 4 cash offers at our first meeting, which gave them options, picking the best cash offer. Whether it's multiple cash offers or my guaranteed sold program, my sellers are always in control to sell fast and for the most money. It's my guarantees and my buyers in waiting program that set me apart from other realtors.
If you're ready to make your move without the hassles, guaranteed, call Gloria Lou right now at 314-325-6888. That's 314-325-6888, or visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com. Gloria and seller must agree on price and possession date.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance tech at a university, he knows ordering from multiple suppliers takes time away from keeping their arena up and running. That's why he counts on Grainger to get everything he needs, from lighting and HVAC parts to plumbing supplies, all in one place. And with fast, dependable delivery, he's stocked and ready for the next tip-off. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
It all comes down to this, folks.
Yep, the entire season is on the line. But my throat has officially thrown in the towel.
Sounds like you need Vicks VapoCool drops. They're max strength and vaporize sore throat pain.
Whoa! These VapoCool drops hit fast.
Speaking of fast, did you just see that play?
Yeah, he vaporized that ball.
That pun should have come with a penalty.
Vaporize sore throat pain with Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed.
If you owe the IRS, you have a legal issue, and you need the Lance Drury Law Firm. We'll protect your rights. Log on at lancedrurylaw.com.
Retiring soon? Get the information you need by joining Kyle Jones and Matt Allgeier of Fire Capital Management for your retirement highway, Sunday mornings at 9:30. Investment advisory services made available through Pine Ridge Advisors, LLC, registered investment advisors. Securities made available through AE Financial Services, LLC, member FINRA and SIPC.
Built on a century, focused on today. The voice of St. Louis, KMOX.
Gashouse Gang on KMOX, brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, the overhead door company of St. Louis, and Chesterfield Fence and Deck. We've got Matt Pauley, Chris Ranji, and Mike Claiborne from Jupiter, Florida. Claibs, we were just talking about the Colton Parayko, who the Blues had a deal in place to send him to Buffalo. He exercised his no trade clause, and now we are an hour and 40 minutes from the trade deadline. Are the Blues going to do anything today?
I don't think they can do anything that's going to have a real meaning at this point, to be honest with you. And when you look back on this, the two most feared words in hockey, if you're a Blues fan, is no trade, because there's so many players on this team that have the no trade that they've elected not to exercise for different reasons. But Doug Armstrong could be sitting there holding a bunch of players that teams coveted, but they didn't want to leave because they know those players may either think a new regime is coming on board with Alexander Steen, or there may be a better opportunity at the trade deadline. This could be an epic, colossal disaster today for the Blues, because they have so many guys they could offload, but because of the no trade, and these players are smart enough to say, well, I don't want to go to this city. And I look at Colton Parayko. Parayko, I'm sure, had to think about, Buffalo looks like a really good team to play for. They haven't been in the playoffs in 17 years. And what's the next 4 years of his career going to look like? Because it appears Lindy Ruff could be out at the end of the season. So now here comes another coach coming in. So it's really kind of a convoluted mess that Buffalo is going through, although they're playing well. But for the Blues to have so many guys that teams would like to have, and they don't want to go to those cities because they have the no trade clause that Doug Armstrong gave them, it puts the Blues in a real bind. And maybe you can offload some of these guys at the draft, but maybe you could get something now that might even be better. But right now, I think this is a very trying and telling moment for the future of the St. Louis Blues today.
The fact that nothing's been done yet says a lot. I bet Falk gets moved. He seems like the one that's going to be the easiest to trade, and there's going to be a desire for that right-hand defenseman. But I can't get over how this Parayko thing went down. That they went all the way through that process without having a good idea that Parayko would say yes or no to it. And I don't know. It's incredibly frustrating as somebody who wants to see the Blues do well, because anybody who has even one eye can see that this is a team that needs to be the core doesn't work. Mm-hmm. They're not going to win with this core. So you got to get these guys out of here. And Jeremy Rutherford tweeted this out, a previous quote from Armstrong, and I don't know if he's still standing by it, but he talked about how he didn't want to sell for pennies on the dollar. sell for pennies on the dollar, because what that does then is it opens up space and you can try again via free agency, via other types of trades with your own guys coming up. There are so many passengers on this team that should not be playing for the St. Louis Blues ever again. And right now, and we'll see what it looks like in 90 minutes, right now, I have so little confidence that they're going to be able to get these guys out of here.
You know, to touch on what you said, Matt, he says pennies on the dollars. Doug, this is your last year. How do you want to be remembered? I give Mo credit for this. He left Hein Bloom a really even runway to build on. The same with Ollie. For Doug Armstrong to saddle Alexander Steen with these bad contracts and in some cases bad players, it's just unfortunate. So how does he do it? Hey, look, man, just move them. We'll figure it out later.
Yeah.
Hopefully our scouting department can find a diamond in the rough somewhere. But right now, to sit here and carry this bunch into the remainder of the season with nothing in return, it's unfathomable.
What about the thought that, hey, just sit on these players and then move them in the offseason? What about that?
That's a possibility in some cases. I think Jordan Bennington would fall into that category. He has another year left on his contract. But, you look at the other guys who decide they don't want to exercise a no trade. For what? Dude, it's not working here. Okay? And who knows what this team looks like next year as far as who they bring in and who they just try and move and just get rid of. Look, you've done your service here. It no longer works. So let's move on. And maybe there's a landing spot for you somewhere else. And you know what? If you go there and you play well, then good for you.
So
I'm not going to be I won't be upset if guys go and I'll play what they're doing here. It doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah, not at all.
It does feel like there needs to be a change here. There needs to be some turnover.
And going back to the Parayko scenario, Doug Armstrong apparently talked to everybody who he thought he could move that had a no trade. He wanted them to think about it. Parayko didn't find out about it until the day before yesterday. He never had a conversation with him. And I think that's one of the things when he told him, Parayko allegedly told him, I need to sleep on this because this is something he never saw coming. He had time to tell him, but he didn't. And now he's in a situation where Parayko thinks about, maybe I don't want to be there for the next 4 years, or maybe I don't want to get traded to another team in a deadline situation. So there's a lot that goes into it. And kudos to any player who has the hammer, because seldom do you have it in sports.
Right.
But these guys who do, hey, man, good for them, because now they can dictate what their future is going to look like compared to some general manager.
I do not blame Colton Parayko for exercising something that was given to him that he earned in his contract. Jordan Kyrou has the same full no trade clause. And by the way, Falk and Braden Shen, Jordan Bennington, they've got partial no trade clauses. They both have 15, 14 team no trade clauses. I wonder about Kyrou, though, and there just something seems to be off about his tenure here. And I wonder if that's one of those situations where everybody really would benefit, that maybe the Blues would benefit to be rid of that, and he would benefit to have a different environment.
I agree. Jordan Kyrou he can score 30 goals, with playing with another person's stick. Okay. He's a good player, but it doesn't work here anymore. The lack of competition from him is glaring. And, maybe he just lost interest in playing in St. Louis. Maybe somewhere else, giving him a fresh start would be something that would be ideal. And I always think about, there's a core of those guys who have been here for what I believe 4 coaches. When you go back to Mike Yo and Craig Berube and Davis, not Davis Payne, who was a guy who was here for a cup of coffee until Monty became available.
I always forget his Drew Bannister.
Bannister, yes.
Drew Bannister,
yeah. Well
and now Montgomery. So that's 4 coaches,
mm-hmm.
and these guys aren't even 30 years old. So there's a common denominator here, and it's not the coaches. It's the player.
Yeah.
And you've had 4 different coaches try to get to these guys, and Craig Berube was lucky enough to get to them for one time, and from that point on, everybody headed south.
And Jim Montgomery got to him for 3 months last year, and it was good enough for a playoff run.
Yep.
Or a run to the playoffs would be the better way to say that.
Yeah, exactly.
Matt Pauley, I know you got to run. We appreciate you hanging out with us for a half hour, and you are heading back to St. Louis tomorrow, yeah?
Tomorrow. So Claibs and I will have the broadcast tomorrow afternoon, Cardinals and Mets from Roger Dean. And then I will find my way to the airport and find my way back to St. Louis.
And I trust that you will have no issues whatsoever. You will not get into any fights with Uber drivers or sky caps or whatever. You'll be all right.
Of course.
Yeah.
I'll be fine.
Attaboy.
Hey, man, I hope your kids remember what you look like. It's been a while.
It's been a long time. Mike Claiborne's going to stick around with me. We're going to talk to Bill Lindsay on the NHL trade deadline. He is an analyst for NHL Network, and he will be on the Gashouse Gang next on KMOX.
Weather sponsored by Renner Garage Door, forward and back, RENNER.
Hey guys, it's Dave from The Glover Show, trying to explain The Glover Show. So when I was a younger man, I used to go to happy hour almost every night, and I loved it. And I've always thought of my show as being like happy hour. It's always interesting. It's often silly, but not always. You know, there are real things to talk about. I am amongst friends, politics, and personal things. So that's what it is, really. It's happy hour for thousands of us every day between 1 p.m. and 5 p.m. And I hope you'll tune in and join the happy hour.
Now, KMOX weather from the Saliga Heating and Cooling Weather Desk.
Mostly sunny and 77 degrees in St. Louis. We're going to have a high of 80 that will approach the record of 85 set in 1956 tonight. Low of 63, could have some thunderstorms as well.
Weather sponsored by Renner Garage Door, forward and back, RENNER.
Cardinal Cowboy here. Renner Garage Door has you covered. Renner's been turning garage doors from zero to hero since 1966. RennerDoorSTL.com.
RENNER.
This is Tom Ackerman for Ophthalmology Associates. You know, the doctors, or just the best doctors to see for your best vision in St. Louis. 314-966-5000. The doctors. They've treated more than 250 doctors. That's more than any other practice. Dr. Greg Birdie, Dr. Ranjan Malhotra, Dr. Robert Bersati, Dr. Andy Royer. 314-966-5000 is their phone number. 314-966-5000. Dr. Birdie, Dr. Malhotra are cornea surgeons and experts in diagnosis and treatment of diseases of the eye, dry eye, allergy eye, cataracts, macular degeneration, glaucoma, LASIK surgery. The Doctors of Ophthalmology Associates, experts. Call for an appointment today, 314-966-5000, or visit them online, youridoc.com, 12990 Manchester Road, quarter mile west of 270. 314-966-5000 or youridoc.com.
To have a roof over your head, a nice roof over your head, is very important.
That's Rick talking about his experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago, and they're very cooperative on getting us the right paint. They're in and out and done in no time. Once it was finished, looked great. We were very happy with it.
The main reason Rick called Rhino Shield is because it's backed by a 25-year transferable warranty.
We've watched a lot of people get their house painted 3 or 4 times, and we haven't had to do any of it. I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to have to paint it every 5-7 years.
Take a tip from Rick and put down the paintbrush and call Rhino Shield for your free evaluation. 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO. Or visit 877-25rhino.com.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago. Financially makes sense, especially if it's going to last like this did. Still looks great.
Call now. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com.
No pain, don't Rhino. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Start your summer early at the St. Charles Boat Show, March 5th through 8th at the St. Charles Convention Center. The top marine dealers from the Lake of the Ozarks will be on site with the newest boats, personal watercraft, docks, and accessories. Step aboard, compare models, and find the perfect ride for your family. Special show pricing and experts ready to help make your boating dreams a reality. Visit LakeoftheOzarksBoatDealers.com for more information.
Rush Hour Sports, Matt Pauley, Kevin Wheeler with you here.
Bernie Miklasz joins Rush Hour Sports tonight at 5 on America's Sports Voice, KMOX.
Florida Panthers have won the Stanley Cup. Lord Stanley is coming home. You always will have a place in South Florida. Oh, my God. What a gutsy effort. That is some cojones, boys. Wow.
What a great call from Bill Lindsay, former winger, now Florida Panthers analyst and analyst on NHL Network. The trade deadline is less than an hour and a half away. The Blues have yet to make a move, and we will continue to watch ahead of that 2 o'clock deadline. This is the Gashouse Gang, Mike Claiborne and Chris Ranji. We bring in Bill Lindsay, who is also watching the clock, I'm sure. How's it going, Bill?
I'm doing good. How's everything in St. Louis?
Well, we've been better when it comes to hockey. Hey, Bill, you got to be a little bit more excited when you win the Stanley Cup, man. Just
a little enthusiasm, man.
That call, I don't know what happened. My poor play-by-play. I was going. That's a play-by-play call. I took some heat for it, and
no, you don't.
We got a
you
chance
took heat for that.
It.
Have fun with that.
Whoa! What do you mean you took heat for that? That was amazing.
Well, some people, everyone says that. Of course, the play-by-play, they live for that moment forever, and for that call, and he had it going for a while there, but I just couldn't hold back.
Well, it was fun.
It was mine,
it was
so
fun.
I let all my emotions ride. But the good news, and it had a happy ending. We won it a second time in a comfortable fashion. So I just knew once I recognized 1 minute left on the clock, we're going to win the game. I am not saying anything for the last minute, and for once the game ends, I'm not going to say anything for a minute after that.
Oh man,
hey,
that's great.
Let's start with your Panthers. I think the winning back-to-back cups may have caught up to them. They played a lot of postseason games. They've dealt with a lot of injuries. Are they going to be buyers or sellers because they're outside looking in right now when it comes to a playoff spot?
Yeah, we're not going to buy. We're retooling. The focus now is gone on to next year. There won't be. They'll still focus on trying to win games. They're not mathematically out of it, but they're going to do their best. But the focus from the GM and the organization, I would assume, is going to focus on next year and what you're going to do. This team still has a core together that's very capable of winning a Stanley Cup, and that window is going to be open for 3, possibly 4 more years. You're right. They played a ton of hockey. Injuries, they did their best. They grinded. I've never seen a team that competes, and they're out of gas. We were playing our top guys such heavy minutes at the start of the year with the injuries out. No Barkov. Bobrovsky's had a down year by his standards. They just couldn't piece it together, get on any kind of run. It's disappointing, but I'll take what we've had for the last 3 years, 3 straight trips to the Cup and two championships. It's really nice, but the focus is absolutely to see what happens if you can open up, maybe get a draft pick, what you want to do with this roster and flexibility-wise moving. But the focus now trends into the next season. I don't believe they're going to have a focus on trying to make a playoff push this year.
Meanwhile, the situation the Blues here in St. Louis are in is that they are trying to move some players. They were unable to move Colton Parayko yesterday, had a deal in place with the Sabres, and he has the no trade clause and turned that down. What are your thoughts on that? The fact that they couldn't get that done, though they had a framework in place.
Well, I thought Chris Pronger, one of the greatest Blues to ever play a game, had a great tweet on it. How does that become public information? First off, who leaks that story that the trade's in place and he has no trade protection? So it puts a lot of pressure on the player, Parayko, that it's out there and kind of from both sides. If it never does get out and Parayko goes to Doug Armstrong and says, listen, I'm not going to accept the trade, it squashes it. No one ever hears of it. So that's kind of a little disappointing. But from a player standpoint, this is how I look at it. You earned what you get in your contract. And Parayko and his agent in St. Louis at the time felt that he earned to have a no movement clause. And it's a very team-friendly deal. I don't mind the number for Parayko. If I'm a St. Louis Blues fan, I have no problem staying with our organization, nixing that no trade. But if the trade was in place. But from a player standpoint, you have a short time into the NHL. Whatever your shelf life is, you got to make the most of it. And when you have the power in your hands, whether it's a family decision, whatever kind of decision that factors into it, you are going to go with what's right for yourself. And Colton Parayko felt that it was best for him to stay in St. Louis. I have no issues with it other than it got out earlier and into the media sooner than it should have.
You know, that's a great point you make, because there were people locally who were bidding Colton Parayko a farewell, and it really was embarrassing from a media standpoint how we had just signed off on this deal, and the fact that everybody assumed Parayko was going to take this deal. It just says that it's better to wait and be accurate than to be first and be inaccurate. And I thought it was really a black eye for what we do here in St. Louis and how we covered that story.
Yeah, it's tough. I've never seen the outlets from St. Louis, and you got more detailed to what's been released. I just knew that it was released and out there to the public, and if I've heard of it, everyone else has heard of it. So that is the point of the media. Don't rush to judgment. Just make the certainties are there, but it's not really the media's fault to the degree, because somewhere it got out into the media and into the public. Where is that initial leak coming from? Is it coming from the agent? I doubt it. Knowing that he has a no Parayko, definitely not. St. Louis, Doug Armstrong, leadership there, they probably didn't want it. So where's the leak? That's I wouldn't say so much embarrassed on your part, because you have to cover what's reported, and it is out there. But the original leak is the real issue for myself.
So where do the Blues go from here? We're cutting it pretty close as far as the deadline's concerned. What do you see happening with the Blues, and do you see a lot more activity coming up in the next hour and a half?
There will be a frenzy in the next hour and a half. I've heard Robert Thomas name a lot. I'm sure you guys there as well. I'm interested to see that. Signed long term, and if you look at all the good teams around the NHL, they have a specific core that they're able to build around, and especially the top teams. Kyrou, Thomas, now Neighbors, Snuggerud, starting to come on board, seem to be that core. And Robert Thomas, the way that he plays, and at $8 million, I believe it's just maybe a shade over $8 million for 3-4 more years. I like that deal, and I would, unless I don't know what you're getting back, but the team that wins trades is the team that usually gets the best player. And Robert Thomas is a heck of a player. So it'd be interesting to see what they do on Robert Thomas. If he stays in a Blues uniform, I would keep him in a Blues uniform. The one area I do feel is that Joel Hofer is your number one netminder moving forward. And Jordan Binnington and the market, if there is, especially coming off what he did at the Olympics, knowing that a high-pressure goaltender, Binnington is the one player that I would be looking to move on that team that could bring back considerable assets. Beyond that, it's about salary cap management, flexibility, what your focus is heading into next year's off season. But you have to be able to eventually find a core on defense end up front that is young, that is stable, that you're going to be able to build around.
Talking to Bill Lindsay on Gashouse Gang, and knowing that they still could make these trades during the offseason, it doesn't have to happen now. Would you consider it a failure, though, if we get to 2:00 and the Blues haven't done anything?
Nope. I wouldn't consider that, because you said, actually, anything with term on the contract. If you got term, then there's no issue, no reason to force you into something that could be a bad deal. If you don't, unless it's absolutely that you think that's an absolute home run on a player that has term, I say no every single time. No, unless it's an offer I just simply can't refuse, and it's that good going forward. Justin Falk, is he at the end of it? I'm not sure. That's a defenseman.
He has time. He has time left on his contract.
Yeah, so all those players have time left. So Doug Armstrong, he's not under the gun pressure-wise. So the package is coming back. You are the luxury as the GM at that part that you can move those players whenever you want. It doesn't have to be this year. If they're not moved, I would not be disappointed from a St. Louis standpoint at all, just moving forward. And sometimes patience is the best philosophy. Just let it play out. You do have some developing sources up and coming. If you want more time to figure out what you want to do with these players, then let it be and work it out. As you said, work it out in the off season.
Bill, my final question for you as we get near the end of the deadline, and maybe there's going to be a deal after we talk. What team do you think has helped themselves the most leading up to today to get themselves ready, not just to get into the playoffs, but actually make a run at the Cup?
To make it help, like Minnesota's been very aggressive in everything that they're doing, small moves. I do like where Minnesota's at and what they're trying to do, especially going out early and getting Quinn Hughes. I like the early moves to get the team adjusted. Bringing Nick Foligno back in to play with his brother Marcus. I always find that stuff exciting. If you're looking around from the top teams, so let's take the West, for example. We haven't seen much from Vegas, and they're usually really aggressive at the deadline. That's a team that might be looking for goaltending. The Edmonton Oilers, we haven't heard anything from them on what they might be trying to do. Colorado, that trade to get Garland in, or not Garland, who did I'm drawing a blank who they got in there. Oh, Roy. To get Nicholas Waugh in there from Toronto. I like that move, solidifies that third line center position. So the Avalanche already loaded. I like that move from the Avalanche, from the Eastern Conference side of it. The top teams, Tampa Bay, been quiet. If you look at Carolina usually does something. That's the flurry. That's what I pay attention to here, is that the contenders, it's been really silent. You haven't seen anything blockbuster, sort of like what we did with Marchand last year, that kind of deal, explode. I believe there will be one of that magnitude to one of the contenders before the deadline. Maybe I'm wrong, but that is the trade that I'm kind of looking forward to happen here before 3:00.
Knowing what the Avalanche and, Dallas and Minnesota and I think the Blackhawks are probably on the way up too. Knowing what these teams are in the conference, and the Blues going into this season with an expectation of being pretty good, and it has been the exact opposite of what we thought it would be. As you look at them from a distance, what does this Blues team need moving forward?
They're going to have to upgrade the consistency throughout the four lines. It depends. Dalibor Dvorsky, does he continue to improve? Jordan Kyrou is a disappointment from the outside, personally. Just the ebbs and swings, the inconsistencies that he's had. He should be a 40-goal scorer. He's got that kind of talent, that kind of skating ability, and to go through the ups and downs for him. Where's Jordan Kyrou at? Jimmy Snuggerud's going to be a player. You're okay with him? He's big, he's strong, he's got a shot. Neighbors, definitely okay with seeing him in a uniform. Braden Chen, been there forever. That's something that I would look to move on from, try and replace. I don't know what you're trying to do at that. And then you have to, like, Justin Falk is okay, but puck-moving defenseman, if I look at your blue line, Cam Fowler, Broberg, Tucker, Parayko, Kessel, even Mailou, those aren't guys that I look like, okay, well, if you look at Minnesota, they got Quinn Hughes, the favorite, can push the puck. You got Cale Makar, you got all these kind of defensemen, all these stud defensemen on the back end that can really push, can really quarterback a power play. The back end, the defensive, as far as the true offensive defenseman that can play and quarterback your power play, is one thing that I believe is lacking with St. Louis. And outside of that, it's your core has to be stronger. Whether you do it through free agency and take some time, but if you see your core now is Kyrou, Thomas, Neighbors, Snuggerud, and Dvorsky, Holloway, that kind of core. It's a good core, but it's a core that needs to be upgraded. So still needs to be upgraded up front, and you need a puck-moving defenseman, in my opinion.
Bill Lindsay, great to talk to you. Thank you for the analysis today, and we will talk again soon, I'm sure of it.
All right. Really appreciate the time, guys. All the best there.
Thank you, sir. Lindsay, Florida Panthers analyst and NHL Network analyst with us here on KMOX. And by the way, the Sabres ended up getting Luke Shen instead because they could not make the deal for Colton Parayko. And here's a text as we hit the break, Mike. And I think this is kind of how everybody feels. This text message says, what happened to the same core that was within 1.8 seconds of beating the number one seed in the playoffs in the first round? And I think that's how we're all feeling about it.
Yeah. And that gave us hope going into this season. But, hope doesn't win hockey games right now. And ironically, Winnipeg is looking at the playoffs from the outside.
That's
too.
right.
So,
yeah,
I don't know. Maybe they were both fooling us last year.
Yeah, we were the fraudulent. No, I don't want to say that. That's not nice. But I did. Hey, I did think that we were on the way up, man. It did feel that way.
How could you not, considering how things ended last year?
Mike
Everybody felt
Claiborne,
that way.
Chris Ranji. It's the Gashouse Gang on KMOX.
March 27th, and KMOX's Takes and Eggs, presented by Budweiser, is back. This year with a new twist. You don't need a ticket to enjoy KMOX's live broadcast at Cardinals Nation inside Ballpark Village, featuring Cardinals alumni, front office personnel, special guests, and so much more. Doors open at 9 a.m. Celebrate this hometown holiday with Dirt Cheap and Budweiser. For more details, KMOX.com/events.
Glover here for my friends at Cantor Injury Law. Cantor is local, and we're here doing the work every day. We're right here in St. Louis, and we're ready to fight for you. CantorInjuryLaw.com or call 314-628-9999.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be solely based on advertisements.
Come on. No! It's just a golf lesson, champ. Loosen up. I can't. See that Hyundai Santa Fe? Yeah. I only paid. Finish up on your own. I gotta run.
Deal's so right, it almost feels wrong. The Hyundai Getaway Sales Event. Get 0% APR for 60 months, plus 0 payments for 90 days on the Hyundai Tucson, Tucson Hybrid, Santa Fe, or Santa Fe Hybrid. Now, during the Hyundai Getaway Sales Event. Hurry, offer ends March 31st. Call 562-314-4603 for details.
It's tax time, y'all. If you want to file free, this next one's for you.
Now taxes is so free. Tax free edition only, roughly 37% of filings qualify. Simple form 1040 returns only. Now this is tax.
Love that jam. Up next, commercials.
And to get TurboTax free edition, see if you qualify at turbotax.com/free. No schedules except for earned income tax credit, child tax credit, student loan interest, and Schedule 1A.
Dreaming of college but worried about the cost? The Together Foundation is here to help. The Together Foundation is awarding 5 $1,500 scholarships to St. Louis area students who are ready to take the next step toward their future. Applying is simple, but time is limited, as applications will be accepted through March 31st. Learn more or apply at togethercu.org/scholarship. That's togethercu.org/scholarship. This community message has been brought to you by Together Credit Union.
In 1991, John and Cindy Morelli started Morelli Tuck Pointing. As of today, they've won just about every award possible for the tuck pointing business. The BBB Torch Award, the Next Door Neighborhood Fave Award, and an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. For homeowners, this is a great time to get a free inspection of your basement, your brick or stone fireplace, your garage interior, your porch, and maybe even your walkway. Indoor tuck pointing can be started now. Hi, this is Charlie Brennan. My wife Beth and I have used Morelli Tuck Pointing to work on 2 of our homes now over the last 25 years. We have found the Morelli bids to be fair. Their crews are very polite and they clean up after themselves. But most importantly, their work is beautiful. Family owned and operated since 1991. 314-645-1387, MorelliTuckPointing.com.
Now back to the Gashouse Gang, sponsored by Saliga Heating and Cooling.
And by Overhead Door Company of St. Louis and Chesterfield Fence and Deck.
On 104.1 FM, KMOX.
Right now, the Arch Madness tournament is happening in St. Louis, and Drake has a 6-point lead on Belmont. That's the number 1 team in the conference, and the Missouri Valley going to be a 1-bid team this year. So it's going to be whoever wins the conference tournament.
I hate conference tournaments.
You do?
I do, and I'm going to tell you why. You bust your butt all year to have a good record, and you get in the tournament and you get knocked off, and you go home and you watch a tournament on TV only because a team gets hot for 3 or 4 days. What does that say about them? So I think conference tournaments are the worst thing, or one of the worst things that's ever happened to college basketball.
Now, that's totally logical and reasonable, but the tournaments are a lot of fun. And I think that's why we do it. Well, first of all, it's money. I mean, having a conference tournament brings in money to the conference, but also it's just an event and there is excitement with it, and people who are casually watching like the upsets. I think that's what it's about.
The upsets is what makes the tournament.
That's right.
Before we get out of here, kudos to St. Louis U conference regular season champions, and hopefully they'll go on and do some damage in the conference tournament as well. Congrats to Chris May and Josh Schertz, his staff, and of course our guys Rammer and Earl. Nothing like being a champion, so we wish them the best of luck. They have one more game against George Mason, and then the conference tournament double bye. How about that? So they basically get a week off before they have to play somebody.
That's right. So they will play tomorrow afternoon, and that is the final regular season game against George Mason, as you mentioned. And then next Friday, so a week from today, 10:30 a.m. is the tip. So we'll have the broadcast starting at 10:15, and that will be the A10 tournament game after that double bye for the Billikens.
So we may not have a show next week.
We will not have a show next week. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, Gashouse Gang's off next week, but it is, I mean, man, they earned it, Claibs, and they're going to have at least a share of the A10, but they earned that number 1 seed. They were awesome this year to watch.
Well, you know what? They did something the other night that we've never seen done in St. Louis, win a conference in St. Louis. The last time they did was on the road. They've never done it in St. Louis.
And they were perfect at home this year.
Exactly. So kudos to them, and we wish them nothing but the best, because when they get in the tournament, they get the right seed. They could be a handful for somebody.
Yeah. I know that Jerry Palm, who we talked to earlier in the week, had them in his bracket at 9. Hopefully it's a little better than that, but, you know, because then the seeding that he had, they were at 9, and I believe would play if they advance Duke in the next round. So that's not. I'd like to avoid that if we can.
So I'm going to go by this. Jerry who? I already not paid attention to him.
There you go. All right. Gashouse Gang is brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, Overhead Door Company of St. Louis, and Chesterfield Fence and Deck. So we'll do this show again on Friday in a couple of weeks, because we will be off next Friday, as I mentioned. But it does return on Monday at 12 o'clock. Gashouse Gang, Tom Ackerman, and me. Tom will be from Jupiter, Florida.
He'll be here.
Yep, he's going to be in Florida with you, Claibs. And we'll have Brendan Schaefer on the show with us as well on Monday. So, Claibs, good to talk to you. We will do this again soon. Man.
Can't wait. Have a great weekend.
You too, my friend. We will be back on Monday at noon. It is the Gashouse Gang. Hope you have a great weekend. Enjoy Arch Madness if you're getting out to the tournament, and go Redbirds. This is KMOX.